All right, here with reaction, former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor Newt Gingrich is with us. So if you're willing to call somebody or compare them to Stalin, Hitler, and Mussolini, I'm sure you have no problem calling him a serial murderer, a rapist, and the list will get longer by the day, probably a terrorist by the end of this campaign. The rhetoric is way out of control. Your reaction to all of it?
Well, look, I think, first of all, you have to assume that what you saw from the Vice President, this afternoon, I apologize, what you saw from the Vice President this afternoon was, in fact, a person who is collapsing. These are acts of desperation. She can't win on the border. She can't win on the economy. She can't win on crime. She can't win on any major issue. So her last desperate grab is to smear Trump with things which are patently a lie. I mean, every American watched Donald Trump as president for 4 years. When he was impeached, he accepted the impeachment and went right into the Senate to fight it. When he was stopped from doing things he wanted in the Congress, he accepted it because he understood the balance of power. There is no evidence, none, in his 4 years as president that he resembles in any way this kind of weird attack that Kamala's made.
Yeah, you know, well, if you want to look at the Hitler comparison, if that's what they want, in the modern era, there's never been a more supportive president of Israel. And that starts with moving the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, its rightful home. That would also be support of Israel's rightful borders and respecting it. He supports Israel's right to fight back and to win the war against radical Islamic terrorists that Biden and Harris have been trying to stop Israel from winning. And of course, they made Iran rich again on top of everything else. They have been trying to put handcuffs on Prime Minister Netanyahu. And it's frustrating that they'd make such a comparison, but, you know, that's where we are. And you got to just live with the reality, I guess, and I assume it's going to get worse.
Look, let me make a larger point. Donald Trump is a profound change in American politics. He is the first person in our lifetime, even including Reagan and what we did with the contract and with Goldwater, he's the first person to really come in and take on the old order and profoundly shake it and say, if we're going to survive as a country, we got to do totally new things. So part of the byproduct of that is that hundreds of Republicans whose entire career was spent in the old order aren't going to be for him. I mean, I just think this is a historic change on a depth and a scale you can't imagine. On the other hand, you're going to have a Robert Kennedy Jr., you're going to have a Tulsi Gabbard, you're going to have all sorts of people who decide, you know, we're with him because he represents a willingness to take on an establishment which has been weakening this country, selling out our interest, betraying the middle class, and crushing working Americans. Now, that's what this is all about. And Kamala Harris is the last desperate, incompetent, and inarticulate gasp of a system which is collapsing. They can't solve anything. They can't be honest about anything. They can't tell us what they really believe because they know that if she were to be honest with us about what she really believes, she'd get about 16% of the vote. So she's got to dance and confuse and, you know, dissimulate. That's just a fact.
Newt Gingrich, thank you.